Okay, we are recording. What's
What's up,
going on?
fellas?
What's up,
What's
guys?
good? How you guys
All
doing?
right, guys.
Good. Welcome
Good.
to another
Doing well.
fireside chat.
Yep. Fireside chat number two. And this time we have a friend of ours on the call by the name of Chris Med. And he's in Mexico City right now traveling. And Chris, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Not too bad. Why don't you give the audience a little bio, a little intro on who you are, and so the audience can get to know you a
Sure.
little bit.
Absolutely. Well, I've been trading for about 5 years now. Mainly started with equities, got into the crypto space late 2016, and just been trading and traveling. So finally getting a YouTube channel and calling it Trading the Travel, and gonna just kind of intertwine both my trading technical analysis with and with some like shots of where I am. I'm currently in Mexico City, so
Nice.
it's cool.
Sweet.
Amazing.
So you're going to do the TA for us. So why don't we just start off there, man? So how's the charts looking
All right,
with Bitcoin? Let's get into it. So go ahead and show your screen if you'd like.
sure. Let's jump in. I'm gonna. Okay. I like to really get a bird's eye view of the markets when I begin. So this is the weekly chart, and well, I mean, as you can see, it's pretty beaten up. I mean, we've been on a downtrend for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close to 6 weeks now. RSI is heading to oversold. This right here was this was kind of like the first support that we were looking at, the range between 5,000 and 4,600, but it blew right through it. Now this is a second target here. There's a lot of support around 3,000. I'll zoom out or zoom into the daily. The problem here is that these exponential moving averages are above, kind of pushing the price down. So correlated with this and it being oversold, I look at the shorts. Give me 1 second. And shorts here hit an all-time high like 3 days ago. There was a little, like, I wouldn't even call it a short squeeze, but a little short scare, if you want to call it. And now shorts are starting to pile in. So what I want to see is the shorts kind of get a little cocky and start piling in, because then we can see a potential short squeeze like we've seen in the past. This happened in April, and this one happened in August. And I mean, we can see in the charts it was bad. Like it was I mean, I can go back to the weekly here, and this one right here, this candle was the one that kind of blew the shorts out of the water, and they had to cover. So I use an indicator called the TD sequential. I think Tone Vase uses it as well. And right now on the daily, we're at 9 of 9. So I really think we can see a flush down to this support zone right here, and then just an explosive candle to trap all the shorts. And obviously we would have to break these exponential resistances. So I would want to see the target kind of back to 45 to $5,000 range in the next week, I would see. So in terms of a short-term, kind of a week time frame, I would want to see kind of a flush down and a rebound back to this zone here. I mean, I'm kind of speculating here, but this can turn into kind of an inverse head and shoulders. This can be one of the shoulders of the head, and we want to just see a lower high, higher low, and then just a zoom kind of push upward. So that's kind of where I'm seeing Bitcoin at the moment. I don't know if you guys want to look at any other coins, or should we just stick with Bitcoin, or what?
I personally, I could care less for other coins. I'm sure some people in the audience would like to see some other coins. But let me ask you this, like so this is within the next week, you can see a short squeeze and maybe bounce up to that $4,500 resistance level. But
Sure.
what are your charts telling you? And I'm assuming you'd probably look on the weekly. What are your charts telling you what we may see in the coming months by like Q1 of 2019?
Okay, so there is where was it? It was November. Let me see if I can find if Phoenix goes all the way back to November. November of 2011. No. But I mean, like, to answer your question, I would think that we would see a bounce back, and then we would see another leg down to about this zone right here. I mean, if we make it down to 1800 to 1600, and then from there, I mean, this can be Q1. This can be Q1 leading up to Q2, but we are extremely oversold at the moment. So I can't see this just, you know, continually dropping. We'd like to see a bounce, a strong bounce, ideally back to 6,000, and then one leg down. And if we can capture, you know, 1600 to 1800, that would be ideal. I mean, you also have to think about it, like who has the most to gain here? The guys with the most money can essentially manipulate the price whichever way they want to, and you have, you know, Fidelity, and you have the backed exchange and all that stuff that is supposed to come out Q1, Q2. So I think they want to just load up their bags as much as possible before all that happens. And I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have a leg down, and then all of a sudden the media is going to come out with some breaking news, and then it's just going to be a FOMO frenzy, I think.
Interesting. Okay. Do you guys have any other coins maybe you want him to look at? Like Ripple, or why don't we look at Ripple?
Sure. Okay, cool. I see. Okay, here's a support right here.
I'm sure we have a lot of Ripple fans.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't see
The
why
thing,
want to see this.
the thing here, we have a pretty big range. 24 cents to 79 cents. Like right now, the bears are in control completely. Like they're heading towards this support, and if this support breaks the next support, I mean, you have 17 cents, 14 cents, and 13 cents. So this support needs to hold if Ripple wants to see a bounce. But again, if Bitcoin leads that bounce, then Ripple is just going to follow. And I mean, right now it's just lower highs, lower lows until that trend changes. I mean, obviously I'm bearish on this, so we'd want to see this support hold completely. Otherwise, I mean, we're gonna have some supports here. 12 cents, 14 cents, 17 cents.
What's the probability of Ripple being able to hold that 24-cent support level?
I think we would have to see what Bitcoin does, but right now, as I see it, the bears, it's in the bears' hands. I mean, if you really look at it, like the percentage of where it stands now to breaking that support is what, 17%, as opposed to, what the hell is going on with my computer? My bad, guys. I have a MacBook Air, and sometimes it heats up.
Yeah,
So, look,
I have the same issue.
Yeah.
No worries.
So right now, I mean, in terms of percentages, you have a 17% drop to breaking the support as opposed to over 100% move. So I really like, I mean, I look at Bitcoin always because whatever Bitcoin does, usually everything else follows. So it's one of those things where you can have a nice setup, you can have a nice equilibrium pattern setting up in another coin, and you want to play the breakout, but Bitcoin dumps and it just ruins that play for you. So I really like to see Bitcoin and what it does before anything.
Yeah, that's the thing with trading altcoins. It's like you have to chart two charts. You got to chart the altcoin chart, and then you got to chart Bitcoin as well.
Exactly.
So it's tough.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you just want to have a Bitcoin chart charted in one screen and have that there just continuously, because I mean, if it dumps or it pumps, like you're gonna miss a trade on an altcoin for sure. So it's tougher than equities in that aspect, because I mean, obviously you have like the tech sector that's all correlated, but in this case it's like just Bitcoin, whatever it does, everything else kind of moves along with it. So it's a little difficult.
You said you've been a trader for 5 years. What other markets do you trade in, or do you just strictly trade in the cryptocurrency market?
No, I just traded just the US equities. I got into a little bit of Forex, but I really just decided to just stay with crypto. So I'm like 50-50 crypto and equities. Yeah. I was trading the pot names. The pot names were crazy these past 4 or 5 months. The Canadian, like TRLY and like weed, all that stuff was like similar to a crypto run.
Yeah,
I don't know if you did that.
Yeah.
I didn't get in that game. I wish I did,
So,
but
I had the opportunity back about a year and a half ago to get into the Canadian weed stocks, and I decided to invest more into Bitcoin.
Yeah, it happens, man. It happens.
Yeah.
so so obviously this is supposed to be a Bitcoin fireside chat, but this is a fireside chat. We can talk about a lot of things crypto related, or even like things
Sure.
that are indirectly related to the cryptocurrency market, such as the traditional markets, the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P. Where do you see those markets headed? What are your charts telling you with Dow Jones? I just thought about this right now because we didn't really talk about this before the call.
Look, I'll look at the SPY chart, which is the S&P 500, right?
Sure.
This is a monthly chart. Now, this obviously we've been on a bull run for fucking 10 years, I think.
Right.
And right here, there is a support that really needs to hold, which is 252 here. We had a little scare. We had a nice drop, and it rebounded. But now this is holding. This is the 26 moving average. It's holding that. Let's put a 50 and a 200 so we can get some. Okay, we're pretty much. So this is a 50, this is a 200. We're above those, which is good. And these are kind of the shorter moving averages, and it's holding the 26 now. But then it has this support right here. If it breaks, then and if we get a retest of this and we do not break this and we fall down, then I think we're in trouble. For I don't want to say a recession, but a temporary pullback. And obviously, like, the news has a lot to do with this. So with China and the U.S. trade agreements and all that really influences a lot. So, but technically speaking, we need to hold this support here and just kind of get out of the zone. If we break this and we retest it, and we keep falling down, then it's not good. And this is for just go ahead.
Do you think we could go into another recession in the upcoming year or two, from what you see?
I think so, because I mean markets are cyclical, right? So I mean the last recession we had was 2008, and this is pretty much the recession right here. And we've had a bull run since then, you know, and I think markets, they work in short-term and long-term cycles, and I think the short-term cycle is 8 to 10 years, long-term is 90 to 100 years or something like that. So we're over almost a 10-year short-term cycle since the recession, and then the Great Depression was, what is it, 85 years ago, 90 years ago, something like that. So it's all kind of piling together. I feel like we can see a recession in the next year or two. I don't know if you guys follow Ray Dalio, the author of Principles, but he wrote a good book called,
for a while. It's long overdue.
Yeah.
Right?
He wrote a good book called the Debt Cycles, I think, Big Debt Cycle, something like that. And he kind of explains how markets, I mean, he's looked into history all the way to like the 1800s, so definitely has a lot more insight. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like nothing goes on forever, right? Like everyone that bought Bitcoin at 20,000 thought it was going to 100,000. So and then markets are just, it's psychology, it's people's greed and fear. So you have Trump tweeting something and the markets fall like 400 points. You know, that's how these work. So it's something to be cautious about, I guess, in the next year.
How do you think, or how do you guys think the recession and like another financial crisis would affect the crypto market?
That's a good question. Go for it.
I personally think that initially, I think people will liquidate their assets as quickly as possible. So because Bitcoin is liquid, you can just, I think that's probably one of the first things to go until, I mean, it's kind of a contrarian insight, right? But you'd think if the markets are falling, everyone's going to rush into Bitcoin. But I think that'll take a little bit longer to happen. I think in the midst of the panic and the fear, I think people are just going to liquidate and try to have something tangible in their hands, which, I mean, if you want to consider it cash. But that's my point of view.
Yeah, I think it depends, man. Like if it gets really bad to a point where you need to buy food and things to survive, then yeah, I think people will liquidate Bitcoin, or just, you know, to just stay afloat. They'll liquidate anything just to survive. So I think it depends on how bad of a recession we're in, or if it's a complete market crash. What do you guys think?
I think I agree with Chris. I think initially it will affect the crypto market in a negative way. Everyone will start liquidating. But I also believe that the next recession is going to be even worse than the one before. And I think eventually a lot of the money is going to come back into Bitcoin. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know what the timeline is going to look like, but I would assume that a lot of smart money is already flowing into crypto in anticipation of like the market sell-offs, and it could not even really change the price of Bitcoin if so many people sell to pay their bills and put food on the table, because some of the smart money has already been pushed in. But I would agree with you guys. I just don't know if I agree on the timeline, like how it's going to play out.
Yeah, that's the ultimate guess, man. It's inevitable, just the question is, when's it going to happen? Right. So, for years I remember, I don't know about you guys, man, but I remember back in like 2010, 2009, everyone was like, buy gold and silver. I started reading these gold and silver books by Mike Maloney, those Robert Kiyosaki books. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know if you guys ever read those books, but I was reading
Poor Dad and all that.
Well, not Rich Dad Poor Dad, but he had a series of books, and one was written with a guy by the name of Mike Maloney. He talks specifically about gold and silver. And this guy, Kiyosaki, was promoting gold and silver, and then there was some other
the crash.
Yeah, and there was some other digital marketers, online entrepreneurs at that time, who were promoting this stuff. So I read these books and I put two and two together. I'm like, shit, the dollar's going to crash, and, started buying up a bunch of silver. Big mistake. I mean, I made money, then I lost a lot, right? Lost a lot in terms of value. And I remember back then people were saying 2012, it's going to crash. Then 2016, then 2018. And it's like, now we're about to, we're days away from 2019. It's like everyone's guess. What's up?
And the dollar is strong, I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's like, been hearing this story for almost 10 years, yet we've been on a pretty good bull run for 10 years. So in terms of timeline, I'm with you, Dan. Like, who knows? Like, that's the tough part to guess when it's going to happen. So
it's really at the whim of these big institutions, right?
Right.
And even government.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, that's the charts, guys. Thanks again, Chris, for sharing with us, what we can expect, at least in the coming days or weeks, with Bitcoin, or even up into Q1 going into Q2. That's kind of in line with my resident trader at Crypto Cowboys, pro trader Ed. I mean, pretty much it's the same thing. We could possibly see a bull run, like a short-term one, that is in December sometime. If we bounce off of 2,800, so kind of the same resistance level as you, but he also believes that we could probably fall below that $2,700 mark eventually in Q1 sometime, and possibly touch below $2,000. So, question is,
it's been a tough couple weeks, months for the altcoin signal providers, right? They're taking a beating. And I mean, now we're kind of seeing this all play out in front of us, and this Bitcoin winter, and then all the drama with Roger Ver and Bitcoin Cash and the fork. Do you guys think that was like one of the causes of pushing it down so low this time?
It definitely sped
like the mining capabilities and everything.
Yeah, it definitely had something to do with it.
Yeah, I think we were on a live stream, man, at that time. I remember Ed hit me up and said, hey, we got to go live now. And this was like on a Monday, I think. And it was dropping. It dropped on a Sunday from like 6,500. And this is when the fork was going down. I think it was a Sunday. And on the live stream, like, so in our Telegram chat for the Crypto Cowboys, we have a friend of ours in Vegas. His name is Dan. He runs a company called Node Launch, and or startup for masternodes and so on. And he had brought it up while I was on a live stream. He was like, it's probably the whole Bitcoin Cash fork war. And then when I looked at the hash rate, and the hash rate was dropping for Bitcoin, and there was tweets that we were looking at in real time. Like, many of these tweets were going out during the live stream. And basically, long story short, they were just selling off a ton of Bitcoin on both sides, from what I understand, to support the hashing power for Bitcoin Cash ABC versus Bitcoin SV. So I'm not saying that's the only reason why, but I agree, Pete. I think that's what triggered a sell-off, and then it just became a domino effect, and everyone else just started selling off. And then we saw the price drop from 5,500 down to like in the 4,000s within a matter of days. So, and here we are. So yeah, I think that's what it is. And I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think is going to happen with this whole Bitcoin Cash fiasco?
I don't know, man, but I think they're cancer to crypto, both sides.
It's all egos, man. It's all.
A lot of people lost a lot of money too, man. It's like
Definitely.
they don't even think about that. Like, I mean, there's people that lost a lot of money, and
Yeah.
It's real victims, and they're just grab head.
Dan, you broke up for a second. You said real victims, and then what?
Yeah, there's real victims here, you know, and they're basically just trying to grab headlines,
Yeah. No,
trying
for
to get
sure.
in the news and trying to create buzz and it's like they don't care about the investors.
no,
They don't,
They don't
man.
care about, you know.
That's why it's so important to not buy into what you see and hear and read, not just online but in traditional media. There's so much bullshit. Like I think Mem pointed out the other day, this article by Forbes. This is the end of blockchain, and people will read that, or they'll just see the headline. It's such a clickbait headline. Even on YouTube, you get a lot of these YouTubers with these clickbait headlines, price predictions, or is Bitcoin dying? You know what I mean? Well, I'm okay with if they have a headline that says is Bitcoin dying, but you know, say Bitcoin's dead, or you know what I mean? Like there's these clickbait headlines, and the content in these articles or even on TV is very you need to vet everything that you hear, listen. Even the shit we talk about on these fireside chats, we could be sincerely wrong about certain things. You need to vet everything that you see and hear and read online or on TV. I remember, man, CNBC last year in January, or this year in January, sorry. There was a whole meme about this as well. When Ripple was like about $3, they were talking about how you can buy Ripple. And then within a matter of weeks, it dropped to like 50 cents or something like that, or 75 cents or 90 cents. Like 2 weeks later, in the beginning of February, they were teaching you or trying to show you how to sell Ripple. So I don't think people realize, and I've said this on some video interviews before on our channel. CNBC, 80, you know, CNBC is owned by Comcast, and 85% of Comcast is owned by institutional shareholders. And two of the biggest out of the top 5 institutions that own the most shares in Comcast, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one is BlackRock, and the other one, if I'm not mistaken, is Goldman Sachs, or another very high profile fund. So you got to think, like, what's the, you know, do they want, what is the narrative for them? The narrative is to push their agenda. So whatever you see on the news, they're not speaking to the best interest of us, being the retail investors. They're going to spit out the news that serves them best. So even these small articles, you know, when people write these controversial articles like this is the end of blockchain, and then they write in the body of the article about how, you know, basically that there's a high probability that blockchain is not the future, and there's all these problems and so on and so forth. It's very easy to read that and say, shit, I might have made a mistake. Let me get out of this market as fast as possible, without really doing your own homework and really understanding what it is you invested in the first place. So there's just a lot of fallacies on the news and in the media, and you really got to be careful what you pay attention to.
Yeah, this
advantage.
article's in Forbes. I mean, they're literally contradicting themselves continuously, because they're just selling out to the highest bidder, to their agenda, to suit their agenda, you know. And like you said, it's controlled by the banks or a fund, you know, Chase or Morgan Stanley or these large institutional clients who are controlling the flow of media and dumping Bitcoin. Like when JP Diamond, you know, said Bitcoin's a scam, and then their funds are buying up all this cheap Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You know, they're just going to keep doing the same thing and keep repeating this cycle.
They understand human psychology. That's the thing, you know. It's like
exactly
they know we're susceptible to an emotional reaction rather than a rational reaction. So if we hear a headline that says Bitcoin's dead or whatever, we don't read anything else. We're just, okay, sell button, you know, and they take advantage of that. So it's like you have to be reading between the lines.
And these guys, the same people have been doing the same thing in different markets forever. Like, think about like the dot-com boom. Like in the 90s, they were telling everyone not to invest into internet stocks.
Right.
While they were buying up everything and then selling everything in the bubble. And it's the same shit we're seeing again in Bitcoin. Like you said, when it was $20,000, they're telling you to buy it. Now it's at these levels, they're telling you it's dead and to sell it. So it's the same technique over and over again.
Yeah, this is when the fortunes are going to be made, right? And then they'll be cashed out a little later on.
That's what Uber and I think Lyft, they filed for their IPO. They want to get in the markets as quickly as possible before there's a recession, dump it all on retail investors.
100%.
So it's like, yeah, man, you just have to take everything and start piecing it together, and then it becomes a little bit clear of what's really going on. I think you could be completely wrong, but I mean, it's better than just blindly following media.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 100%. 100%. So yeah, I mean, here's the bottom line, guys. I mean, for you guys watching out there, you got to do your homework, man. You can't just blindly just believe anyone on the internet these days, because everyone's trying to push an agenda. Even these guys who get on YouTube and talk about gold and silver, it's gonna, it's coming back, and then at the end they're like, well, join, buy my book, or join my subscription, and so on. And I get it. You're supposed to build a business and monetize your audience, but you got to do it in a responsible manner. You got to provide real value. And a lot of these guys are just shilling information.
The thing is, a lot of people who get all this shine are being paid to push that agenda.
Yeah.
So it's not even necessarily like someone's just trying to sell their course. It's like these people are literally spokespeople for, institutions who have a certain agenda, and they're just little puppets, and you have to be able to see the common trends, and it's a lot of the times it's the same people who are saying buy gold, buy silver, are now going to be saying, sell your cryptocurrency, it's going to zero. So yeah, it's like you said, it's just important to acknowledge the source and look at everything in the big picture and put the pieces together for yourself.
So how does one do that?
Yeah, that's not an easy question, right? There's so many different sources of information, but I think a pretty good starting point is to look at everything from both sides. And like you said earlier, being a contrarian is a very important skill set, that if you can identify where a lot of people are making a mistake and go against them, like, you're going to do well. A lot of successful investors are contrarians by nature, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and a lot of these people. So that's a good starting point. But again, it's really about finding out what your own purpose is, what your propensity to risk is as well, and then identifying the different sources that are going to have an impact on your strategy.
Definitely. What sources?
That's my 2 cents.
Well, that's a great 2 cents. Why don't you guys share your sources? Like, what are your guys' strategies to absolve yourself from risk? What's your risk tolerance? And guys, when you hear this, the audience that is, none of this is investment advice. So please don't follow anything we do. Some of us may be gamblers. I don't know. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, we were talking about 50x leverage before. So
right. Yeah. What are your guys' sources? Like, how do you stay disciplined with your investing, and how do you absolve yourself from risk?
I think you have to do a mix of a few things. I've just started to learn about technical analysis and reading charts, but I think that's a really important part of it all, the technical analysis side, and also the fundamental analysis side, and also the sentiment analysis side of it. And I think if you can use all three of those really efficiently, you have a better understanding of the markets. But again, you can be wrong. Things change so quickly. Like
Yeah.
a certain bit of news could completely turn the market. So that's what I like to do. I like to use three of those three methods.
For me, it's
Definitely.
risk management. As a trader, you have to protect your capital. And I mean, I don't want to start a comment war here, but a lot of people that say hodl and they bought something that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, they bought like at $3-4 and now it's at like 15 cents, whatever altcoin
Sure.
you can think of. Like, if you just had a stop loss, you would have preserved your capital and now bought at the bottom instead of just, now you have to write it out, and we don't even know if that coin that you're invested in is going to make it through. So it's,
Yeah. High
I think,
probability it won't.
yeah, I think it's just really risk management is extremely important. Use a stop loss if you're going to trade, please. I mean, even if it's a mental stop, you have a lot of traders that don't, you have a lot of traders that are looking for stop levels and they'll wick them on purpose. So it's like, you want to at least have a mental stop and just preserve your capital and then
Yeah.
invest in real estate.
I agree. Absolutely. I think you gotta I think initially you have to have a conversation with yourself as well, because everyone's financial situation is a bit unique, right? So you really gotta have some self-awareness going into investing. And the first thing is you gotta figure out, what is your risk tolerance and what are you willing to lose? What can you afford to lose? Because man, I'm hearing these stories as of late. I'm not going to get into, for legal reasons, I'm not going to get into specifics, but there's some ICOs that people invested in, for example, and that's already a gamble in itself. But people invested in ICOs and altcoins that are failing, that have either been frauds or that have completely just, they're not going anywhere. And a lot of people got in over their head and invested too much money, and now they're in the hole, or they have no money left. And I see this across the board. I'm hearing so many conversations and just seeing so many comments from different people on various mediums where they're getting wrecked. They're not just using the word lightly now, that they're
No.
really getting wrecked. And they always say you either earn or you learn, you know what I mean? And a lot of people are learning in 2018. And I think that has to do with lack of self-awareness. They don't know what their risk tolerance was, and now they're paying the price. So I think the first thing is you got to have awareness. You have to have self-awareness. The second thing is you need to take some time to learn and study what the hell it is that you're investing in. So the subject matter here is blockchain. Well, you need to understand, what is blockchain? What makes it important? Why are we even in this space in the first place? More importantly, you need to understand, what is Bitcoin? And why is it that people got into this space? Why was Bitcoin created 10 years ago? So I recommend people to go read first. The best book I recommend to read is The Bitcoin Standard. So you can understand the premise of Bitcoin and why it was created by this pseudonym by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2008. It was when the white paper was created, right after the big market crash, and why it was created, essentially. So you need to understand, what is Bitcoin, what is its utility, what is its property value, and why it's possibly here to stay. Then you got to figure out, what is your risk tolerance, have some self-awareness, have a conversation with yourself, maybe meet with a qualified fiduciary financial advisor, or somebody who knows more than you do, that you trust to a certain degree, their opinion, their experience, their analysis, and who has results in terms of creating some form of wealth. And maybe you'll find that through books. Maybe you'll find that through following Ray Dalio, and put together a plan to absolve yourself of risk, in case there's always a possibility this entire market could go to zero. Are you still going to be okay if the entire market, including Bitcoin, went to zero? And these are tough conversations you have to have with yourself and with qualified people and professionals. I think people miss that. And people tend to romanticize with this vision in their mind that was created from a few stories they heard from some friends or some people on YouTube. Oh, I made a lot of money in this with this coin. I bought this coin at I bought Bitcoin right at $9 and now it's worth $3,000, right? So this next coin will probably be the next Bitcoin. I saw so many of these Facebook ads about, did you miss out on Bitcoin? Well, this is the next project, right? So I think people have to have these conversations with themselves and have a little bit of self-awareness, and don't let greed, FOMO, and all that take over your reality, because a year later your bank account could look way different than where you thought it would be. So fact check everyone you listen to, have some self-awareness, figure out what your risk tolerance is, and really study this shit and understand what it is you're investing in. Don't just invest in something because your boy told you to, like really read up on this stuff. Follow people who know what they're talking about, like Andreas Antonopoulos. Follow that guy on Twitter. What's his name? Murad? I forgot his name. He did a podcast with Anthony Pompliano. Great podcast, by the way. I highly recommend it. It came out like a month ago. You really want to follow people who know what they're talking about. And also pay attention to clues, man. This is why I think we all are kind of on the same page. Like, we're all pretty much Bitcoin maximalists to a certain degree. There's a reason why, executives are leaving Goldman Sachs in the past 6 months or so, going to the cryptocurrency market. Because I think they know this market is here to stay, but more so Bitcoin. I rambled on quite a bit, guys. What are your thoughts?
Oh, you're good. Yeah, that was good advice for the listeners. I remember at the peak of the bull run at the end of last year, Forbes pushing that exact agenda that you just said, like, Bitcoin's now 20,000. It's so expensive, it's not affordable, but Ripple is only $3 per coin, so you can buy Ripple for way cheaper, and this is the next Bitcoin, and they're
right.
It's like, even if the source is verified and valid and has a proven history, you have to think about what are the deeper causes that they could be pushing out this story, or what is their agenda really. And at the end of the day, trading or investing in general is all about capital preservation. So you have to be smart with your capital. You have to manage risk properly. You have to identify your own tolerance to risk and understand the emotional cycle behind it all. And only then should you decide what you want to invest into.
Yeah. Real talk. What are your thoughts, Pete?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you guys said. I think emotion plays a big part in all of it, right?
Yeah.
Like we saw last year, like, let's face it, even for myself, I can say that a lot of the stuff I was investing in was just gambling, right?
Yeah.
It goes through a lot of people last year. They were just seeing altcoins pumping 20-30% in a day and just buying things that they didn't understand, buying on emotion.
Yeah.
So I think you need to really get that in check. So a big part of trading and investing is like the emotional side of it. You really have to be vigilant, and if you can't control your emotions, you're going to get wrecked.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's one thing, right? So for people to understand, and I don't, this is what my understanding is of blockchain. So, it's very easy to say, well, this is what blockchain is, but you've never written a line of code, right? So this is my understanding of blockchain, because I could be completely wrong. So, if you'd like to add a comment, by all means, smash the like button, leave a comment below, let us know your thoughts. But here's my understanding of blockchain. It's a slow, inefficient, expensive database. And the best application is for accounting purposes, i.e. money. So everything beyond that, it's not feasible to use blockchain. But blockchain is such a buzzword, you can wrap a great story around it and raise money and do well, at least last year. So when people, and I still hear people, talk about this stuff like, put video on the blockchain or games on the blockchain, but that doesn't work, because it's such a slow database. It's inefficient. It's better to build something that requires such high bandwidth, such as video, for example, on a centralized database, as opposed to a blockchain, which is slow, inefficient, and super expensive. But people don't understand that. So this is why there's Bitcoin maximalists, and then there's everyone else who makes fun of the maximalists. But even Ethereum, right? So I think Ethereum has a chance, but hence my phrase, a chance. I'm not even so certain Ethereum will succeed in the future.
What if it hasn't even been built yet, though? That's the thing, right? Like, maybe it hasn't been built yet. Like, you have, going back to the .com.
You can see the open source. You can see the code is open source on GitHub. So you can go on GitHub. You can see the code on GitHub.
No, I'm saying like I'm saying something else. What if it's not
got it.
Something else that hasn't even been built?
Yeah, I'm with that. No, definitely. This is why I say I lean towards the maximalism, Bitcoin maximalist space, but I also think that we need to try stuff out and test things out until we figure out what's going to work in terms of whether it's a blockchain, whether it's a different protocol that is decentralized, but that can still scale. We're not there right now, but it's good to experiment. This is the problem is like people get involved and, bad actors that is get involved. Sorry, I'm getting text. I'm getting pinged on the laptop, but bad actors get involved, which is, human nature, I guess. And in every market we have bad actors and they come in and they, mismanage money, or they just straight up scam people out of money, right? And then it gives a bad name, bad branding to the rest of the market. So, and this is inevitable. This stuff is going to happen. But, the point I'm trying to make is that you really got to understand what it is you're investing in. And with blockchain, we don't know if any of these smart contract platforms, including Ethereum, are going to survive. I think Ethereum will, because they have a ton of PhDs and engineers, genius developers, have a huge development community. If I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think their developer community might be bigger than Bitcoin's. I'm not sure. I could be wrong though, but they just have a lot of people working on Ethereum. So because of that, because there's so much human power behind it, I think there's a chance they can do something and be able to build successful dApps on top of Ethereum and help Ethereum scale, that is, first. But outside of that, man, like, I don't know if any of these projects are gonna go anywhere. I don't know if they're ever gonna recover, which is why this bear market and this bear trend is probably a good thing, because we need to shake out that actors.
Yeah, exactly. We need to shake out all of the scammers out there, all the people who just use blockchain as the new form of crowdfunding, all these ICOs, and there's like more than 2,000 cryptos right now, and how many actually have utility, how many serve a purpose? And
exactly,
it's the vast majority of them do not serve any purpose, and will get shaken out in this bear market, hopefully. And if not this one, then they'll get shaken out in the next one.
Yeah.
Well,
but we're still in the first phase of adoption, right? Like, we're so early on in the adoption curve of the technology.
Yep. Absolutely. What were you saying, Pete? I'm sorry.
I was just bringing it back to Ethereum, because I'm still on the fence. I'm not really convinced yet about Ethereum, just because I think that the reason that it was so popular and went up so much in value is because everyone was using it to raise funds for their shitcoins.
Yeah.
And now we have like 2,000 shitcoins that all run on the Ethereum network, and Ethereum is not doing good. So these guys are definitely not doing good. And if you look, I mean, Ethereum's been what? It was like 2014 Ethereum came around, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
I might be mistaken.
No, I think you're spot on.
So I think Ethereum went through the last bear market, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it dumped down. I'd have to double check my stats, but I think it was like $15 and it dumped back down to like $3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then it came back and obviously had that huge run, and now it's crashed back down to these levels again. I think it will come back again next time. But unless they like find a way to scale and people actually build apps that are going to be used, then I don't see any use for it. Like
Exactly.
I really don't. And for the most of these other altcoins, I think a lot of them, this bear market's going to shake a lot of the shit out.
Yeah.
And I do think that we're going to have alt pumps again. I think a lot of these alts will pump again in the next bull run, whenever that is. But I think over time, we're going to start seeing less and less of these shit coins popping up.
I mean, Ethereum dumped. Think about all the ICOs that raise money with Ethereum. Like they were liquidating their price, you know. So it's
Right.
so yeah.
Like I believe EOS like dumped like a couple $1 billion worth of ETH recently into the market, right?
Right.
So you've got these huge market cap altcoins dumping their ETH back onto everyone's heads, and this is what happens.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of EOS fanboys out there. Sorry to burst your bubble, but I don't think EOS is going anywhere. Your boy Dan Larimer already wants to move on to another project. And this is the problem with these projects. You have a centralized figure attached to it, right? So if he moves on, what happens to the sentiment behind EOS? I don't know, but I bet that sentiment is going to drop even further, and there may be even more holders selling off. I'm not sure, but this is just my guess. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I haven't done enough research into that. For me, anyway.
I used to be a believer in EOS, but then when you look into the history of who created it, you can kind of see where it could be heading in the future. And the reason why, I don't want to name names because, there was a couple people actually, not just Brock, but some people have pivoted away from the project to work on other things that could serve the community well. But I think EOS is going to be one of those projects that gets left behind in the end.
Yeah, I think so too. I think what to look out for, possibly, I'm not saying all of them, but there may be some good security tokens coming out. I think if anything, we may see those start to pop up in the coming 3 to 5 years on CoinMarketCap.
Yeah, I think we're going to have like some watershed moments in crypto where we have, not like a security token launch.
Yeah.
Like $1 billion IPO style digital token launch,
Right.
That's an security. That's coming.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see token-backed assets, like security tokens that are backed by real estate, that allow people to get exposure to, like, let's say, luxury real estate in Manhattan via tokens, right? I think there's a company already working on this as well out of Brooklyn.
Well, it's like you're just tokenizing a REIT, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it gives the market more exposure to that luxury real estate. Let's say, for example, $60 million condo in that new high rise that's going up in Central Park. Now, we can't buy it, right? But if you can get exposure by owning a few tokens that is backed by that piece of real estate, then you own a piece of that real estate via a.
Aren't they doing that with art?
I think they are doing that with art too.
Yeah, I saw that in Boston when Mehmet and I were in Boston. There was a conference, Token Fest, and there was a company there that were tokenizing fine art. And I think there's a few doing it, and there's a few doing real estate. There's a few doing debt, which is really smart, tokenizing debt.
Yeah.
So I think I think the next wave of like token offerings will be more security tokens than ICOs, like utility tokens. And it makes more sense. Like if you're a company and you're trying to raise money, like you're a startup trying to raise money, you can't get no VC money. They don't invest at the beginning. They invest at the end when you're about to do IPO, right?
Right.
So if you're a small company that's looking for funding and the big dogs ain't going to give it to you, do a security token, then you have access to funds globally, different types of amounts. So I think a lot of startups now, like not even just crypto companies, but like tech startups in general are going to be tokenizing their shares, creating digital shares. I can see that being the next thing.
Definitely. I think so too. The only thing is that you have to be an accredited investor to get exposure to these, right? So
Right.
that's going to be tough for a lot of people. So then it comes back to, well, like in America, and I'm sure they say in Canada as well, the rich get richer, right? And like I talked about in the last call, that crack in the ground is just getting wider. And to jump across that crack is just getting harder every single week, every single month. So then how do you get exposure to that? Well, you got to figure out how to become an accredited investor and make more money. And it just comes down to hard work, man. Everyone got into this to make a quick buck last year, and they've learned the hard way that, no, dude, this doesn't work like that. You got to somehow, some way, the universe, life, whatever you want to call it, God, whatever it is, brings it back to full circle, meaning you got to work your ass off to get to that point where you get exposure to these investment opportunities. So it is what it is. Do I agree with it? Not really in terms of being an accredited investor, but I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to dive too much into that. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the future is Bitcoin, and I think we're going to see some great opportunities with security tokens, asset-backed security tokens. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting times, man, in the crypto market in the coming years. But right now we're in a bear market, and it ain't looking pretty anytime soon. So that's just my opinion, but I think we're going to be in this bear market for quite some time.
This is when the fortunes are made.
Yep.
Blood on the streets.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can short the market also. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. There's money to be made both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's Dan's thing. He shorts the market all day.
Not all the time.
Not all the time, but oh, good.
Here's a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Just bring it back to like coins that are going to survive, and like obviously Bitcoin, I believe, and I'm sure you guys agree, is going to be the number one store of value in the future, or up there with like the top stores of value like gold and real estate. But I also believe that there's going to be another cryptocurrency that is going to be like stand out from the rest and will be used for payments. I'm not yet convinced that Bitcoin is going to be like a store of value is fine for me. Like I'm happy for Bitcoin to be a store of value. A lot of people are like, well, we're going to have Lightning Network, and then we're going to have microtransactions with Bitcoin. I kind of think it might not be Bitcoin for the microtransactions, and it might be another currency. Maybe it's not around yet. Maybe it is. What do you guys think?
Ripple.
The reason why I think
mean, it suits that purpose perfectly, right? They have a very strong team. They've been developing the technology. They have the coin supply to do it. It's centralized. It's made for big institutions. Like it could be Ripple, it could be another coin, but you're definitely right. There's going to be one token that is not Bitcoin, in my opinion. That is not Bitcoin. That is going to be used for payment processing.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the Federal Reserve coin.
The Fed coin.
I'm serious, man. I think the US is probably going to create their own coin, I mean, I totally eliminate privacy, so I don't know how that would work.
We should use the Petro.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm good with that. Yeah, that's just, I don't know, man. It could be Ripple. I don't know. But this is why I don't think Ripple will go away. Because they just got a good team of business developers, man. These guys just, they're Brad Garlinghouse, their whole team. Ripple Labs has actually been around since 2004, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So they've been around, they have the relationships, they're working with banks. Banks ain't going away. So this whole, like, I love Bitcoin because it's a trustless network. and is decentralized, or the most decentralized cryptocurrency by miles, and it's not even close. But everyone is wishing for this decentralized utopia. I just don't see it happening. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be some form of corruption because it's in every man's DNA. And I think part of life is just to manage your own ego and never allow that to come up, I guess you could say, within your own self. But there's always going to be corruption. There's always going to be an elite. There's always going to be a rich and poor. And that, I think, is inevitable because that's ingrained in our DNA for some reason. So with that being said, I think Ripple's going to be around. Not to say Ripple is, the devil's coin. I'm not going to go that far, but you know what I mean? Like, I just think Ripple's going to be around. That's it. They do a great job they got a great community, great market sentiment within their community, and they just know how to broker deals and partnerships better than probably any other coin right now, which is why they're number 2 in the market cap. So I kind of agree. I think Ripple could be maybe that one of those payment mechanisms that people use.
Does JP Morgan back them?
I'm not sure, man. That's a good question.
I'm not 100%.
There's
a
a book that I'm reading now called The Creature of Jekyll Island that talks about how the Federal Reserve came about with 6 bankers. Like, they went to an island and they formed the Federal Reserve. It's freaking awesome. This book is crazy. So
off of Georgia, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's if JP Morgan was one of these 6 bankers, so if JP Morgan backs Ripple, then I mean, like you said, banks aren't going anywhere. They're going to be around. Yeah, I mean, they built a banking cartel. They can't. I mean, it's like, I don't know, if you haven't read it, read it. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I've done a funny thing. I've done a funny thing last night. I wanted to get some reactions off people, so I posted on Instagram one of those ask me question things. Yeah. And the question I asked was, XRP is a shit coin. Prove me wrong. And I purposely posted that to get reactions. And a lot of people were like, yeah, it's a shit coin, blah, blah. And then you have these really educated people that are like hitting me with like facts. So I started reaching out to some of these people, and I'm like, you know what, would you want to come onto like a YouTube video and discuss this, because it's a very controversial subject. And I've got 2 people. One of them actually knows you, Dan. His name is Ilan. He's from Montreal. And another guy is like, he studies macroeconomics and is in San Francisco. So we had a good conversation about Ripple, and like, I've been down the rabbit hole. I've read a lot of the things, and I understand what they're trying to do and what they're doing. So I think maybe we should do like the next fireside chat. We should have these guys on and have these discussions, right? Hear both sides, everyone's opinions. I think it'll be a really good show.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Definitely. I'm game. Let's get some Ripple heads on here. Let's see what they can say about Ripple. But hey, man, look, I noticed a lot of these devs out there who hate Ripple. They think the technology is shit, whatever. But look, dude, at the end of the day, this is business. And these guys, they seem like they know how to get business done. I know people are saying, well, what is it, X-Rapid or one of their products? Like, you don't necessarily need to use XRP.
X-Current.
What's that again? Say it again.
So they have a few products. They have X-Current, which doesn't use XRP, and then X-Rapid does. So X-Current is being used, but it doesn't have anything to do with XRP. But X-Rapid is the one that, that is going to save the banks a lot of money, and what they're trying to push the banks to using. And if they do, then yeah, XRP could be the token used. I'm still not convinced it will. I just think maybe they could just make another token. Like, it's a cryptocurrency, right? Like, they can just make a carbon copy. But I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I'm leaning, like, I was really against them. I'm morally, I don't like what they're doing, but as a business, like, they're businessmen, like you said.
Yeah.
But the more and more I've researched, and the more that longer I've been in this game, I kind of believe more that it could be, the one that the banks use. So I don't know. We'll see.
But it'll need stability, though, wouldn't it? Like, you can't. it would need stability, is what I'm saying. Like
Exactly.
you're not gonna use Ripple to buy something and then tomorrow it's worth less or it's worth more the next day. It needs to be
Right.
pegged to
But
stability.
what these financial institutions are using it for is just for cross-border settlement. So basically move money from somewhere to somewhere else. And with Ripple and their system and XRP, that can be done in seconds.
Okay.
So yes, the volatility is a factor, and I think that it will have to be less volatile before it is used. But at the same time, if you're transacting in a matter of seconds, the risk ratio is a lot lower than what people think.
Sure. Right.
Right, but let me ask you guys this though: what if they're going to settle really large transactions? What does that do to the value of Ripple? So let's just say, for example, from one
Value of
bank to
XRP, you mean?
XRP. Sorry, let's say I don't know, like $1 billion in XRP in the future, or in money needs to be transferred, and they're going to use XRP from one bank to the other, right? Would they
Right.
use that? Because would that affect the price of XRP at that point? And then would
It'd be
that?
OTC, wouldn't it?
What's that again?
It would be over the counter. It wouldn't. I don't think it would be linked to.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
it wouldn't correlate with the price, but it would boost the value of Ripple, the company.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And
Not
I
the
think
token itself. Yeah.
so the tokens though, so yeah, I think it's not going to affect the price. Like you're not going to see the charts going crazy when they're buying and sending XRP because
Yeah,
it is
I got
over the counter. That data won't hit the exchanges. But at the same time, if
That's
they're
true. The OTC.
buying up these amounts OTC and they're being held, it takes supply off the market, which wouldn't that boost the price?
Yeah, that's true. Possibly. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what
I
happens.
guess that's
But,
why their supply is so large, you know.
Right.
So they can,
Billions.
yeah.
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 But hey, fellas, I gotta take off. So
Yeah. Good talk. We hit the
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
mark
Yeah.
anyway, so we
See
should
you
end it
guys
here.
soon.
Yeah, man.
Good
Thanks
talk.
for watching.
I'm sorry. Go for it, Dan.
No, I was just signing off, saying thanks for watching to the viewers, and
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do this again soon, hopefully in a couple days. And guys, thanks again for watching the show. Just make sure you click the like button, leave a comment below. If you have any questions or want to add any commentary, just again, leave a comment below and subscribe to all our channels. We'll be uploading more of these fireside chats as we go. We'll probably start doing these live real soon as well, so we can get the audience to engage with us. Other than that, any final word from everyone else, or we're good?
See you, boys.
Good.
All right,
Awesome.
guys. Everyone
guys.
have a good one. And let me go ahead and stop the recording.